We have a special guest with us live via telephone from Israel. Yariv Becher, who's vice president at Startup Nation Central, is with us live on this Wednesday morning. Many of you may have seen that there was a press release that came out. Startup Nation Central, a not-for-profit promoting the Israeli innovation ecosystem around the world, has released early numbers for its 2025 annual report, offering an early view into how Israel's tech ecosystem evolved over the past year. And the headline is that Israeli tech rebounds with over $15.5 billion in funding and a record $74 billion in M&A as investors pivot to scale. I already told Yariv over the telephone that he shouldn't expect that I know what any of these terms mean. And early estimates from Startup Nation Central annual report shows a $10 million median deal size as mega rounds capture around 50% of total capital, signaling a transition from rapid growth to high conviction scale. And there you have the headline and part of the story. Vice President, Startup Nation Central, Yariv Becher, a pleasure to welcome you to JM in the AM.
Thank you, Nachum. Good morning.
What were the expectations, by the way? You know, it's funny. When I was in history class as a kid, I was always told that war helps the economy, and of course there were a million theories why, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, Israel's a small country. So many of the innovators had to be actually in the army, some of them for hundreds of days over 2 years. What was the expectation? I don't know, 18 months ago, 24 months ago? Did it seem like the entire industry could really suffer because of the practical situation Israel was in?
So, you know, October 7th was an unprecedented event. And when we woke up on October 7th, you know, to a personal tragedy and a national one, and then on October 8th, which is a Sunday, we work in Israel. Right. We had our management meeting on Zoom, and of course, first of all, check that everyone is doing okay and who was drafted and everything. And then we said, okay, we understand this is going to affect the industry. So we did a number of things. One of them was to go back, and we have, by the way, our report is based on the Startup Nation Finder, which is a digital platform that encompasses all the activity in the ecosystem. So we are a data-driven organization, and we have a finger on the pulse, and we went back to see the data from previous violent cycles. And we saw, and we actually came out with a slogan, and it's a campaign, basically that Israeli tech delivers no matter what. And we saw that in the previous cycle, 2014, which was the biggest one, Protective Edge, a lot of the companies that were established around that time, either a bit before or after, there's some of the leading unicorns today. So we came out with that promise.
And I'm sorry for interrupting, but I mean, you know, Protective Edge was so much more of a shorter period of time, and I would assume likely did not take the manpower that this 2-year war took. Is it really a good comparison?
No, so that was the only benchmark that we had. And right. We understood that, of course, this event is in a much larger scale and the effect that it has, and rightfully so, as you mentioned, about 20% of the tech workforce was drafted. Right. But we know the character and, you know, the resilienceness of the industry, and we came out with that promise. And then, you know, at the end of 2024, we saw that actually the industry delivered on that promise. As we said, Israeli tech delivers no matter what. And actually, what we see when we look at the data is that there's much more correlation between performance of the industry in Israel and the U.S. tech industry than it is affected by what is happening here in our region. And that was true at the end of 2024, and even more so at the end of 2025.
So the question is why? I mean, the question is why. I'm assuming it means that investors from around the world, specifically the U.S., I assume is what you're saying, you know, took a great interest in seeing the tech industry in Israel as a major opportunity. Why didn't they shy away? Why did they think that there was so much potential for success?
So I think there are a number of reasons. First of all, probably really the most important one is really that characteristic of Israel. And by the way, the second thing that we did on October 8th is we opened a hotline, and we told startups, if you are encountering any problems, deals being canceled, investments being withdrawn, let us know. We got about 500 companies that approached us with different things, and we assigned case managers to each company. We have photos of our team members having Zoom meetings with CEOs, CTOs, VPs of startups in uniform in the field. You see a tank.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And there was a laptop. That's the character.
I mean, I remember. I don't remember exactly who it was, but and it may have been a connection from your group. I remember we actually spoke to a soldier up north. I think it was an officer who, as you just described, was running his brand new company from his laptop on the front lines. And I was wondering what kind of exception that was. But you would say that was more common than not, right?
It was very common. Yes.
Unbelievable.
And that's their characteristic. But the other things are, first of all, a lot of the tech in Israel is software. It's less affected by, don't have a manufacturing facility. I mean, we have a few, but not all the industry. Right. Demand wasn't affected. Demand was global. It wasn't affected by the war. So if we're able to deliver, then there is demand and business grows. And also the experience that not just we, globally we had with COVID is you know how to manage, and people can work remotely and in different hours. And, so a number of factors that come together.
I never even thought of that, how the COVID experience was really a blessing to have had before this war for the reason you just mentioned. That's a really interesting twist to the whole situation, especially for those of us who resent the whole COVID experience every time we think about it. Yariv Becher is with us, Vice President at Startup Nation Central. So you mentioned, obviously, software, a big part of it. If we would have spoken 3-4 years ago, would it have been the same? Like percentage-wise, the Israeli tech industry or the Israeli startup industry, is it basically divided up in sectors and industries that generally have been the case over the last 5 years, or the war or whatever has happened in 2025 and 2026 has really changed that landscape?
It hasn't changed dramatically. First of all, it's very important to say people tend to think, when they think of Israeli tech, mainly cyber, some think defense. Of course, there's a lot of activity in cyber, and defense tech is a growing sector. Right. But actually, the leading sector in a number of companies is health tech. About 20% of the startups in Israel are healthcare related. Then
can you give me an example of a company that's a startup and a product that they have or a method they have that's going to be revolutionary? Is there something that came across your desk in the last year that you remember specifically in the healthcare industry?
So I always shy away from saying one company because we represent the ecosystem as a whole. But what I do want to say is that the connectivity, what we're seeing, just to give you an example of the connectivity between the tech industry and, by the way, military and defense-related capabilities, is there are a number of startups that use systems that in the Army you would use to analyze aerial shots and aerial photos, and they implement that in deciphering MRIs, CAT scans. That's a good example. That's a good example. Show the it really goes to show the example and the connectivity, as I said, that you have between different capabilities and that are relevant for one solution and that you can pivot them to another.
No doubt it'll lead to better healthcare and revolutions in terms of early detection, et cetera, et cetera. I just read an article over the weekend about an early detection system for I can't believe I forgot the name. Pancreatic cancer, which has been one of the great mysteries, unfortunately, because there are no really good tests to get it early. And now, of course, that is being reversed because, the technology has been developed that will give doctors opportunity to go ahead and do a certain scan, a certain test, and actually hopefully come out with a very early detection in a case like that. And those of us who know people who have been in that situation, we know how difficult that cancer is. Yariv Becher, is with us live via telephone, Vice President at Startup Nation Central. So what do you say this does to the whole Israeli economy? You know, again, 2023 happens. Many people, especially on this side of the world, are wondering if this will collapse the entire Israeli economy. Everybody had their own theories. And one of the things we keep emphasizing here is the percentages that the Israeli economy has grown over the last 2 years. So is this all tech-related? Like, without this sector, would Israel be enjoying this type of solid economy the way it is right now?
The tech sector has, for the last 30 years, been the major driver for economic growth and prosperity in Israel.
Wow.
It accounts for around 20% of the GDP. By the way, it employs about 12% of the workforce in Israel, and over 50% of exports and over 30% of tax revenues that the government collects. So definitely a major driver. Not the only one. We do see other sectors in the economy, and my organization is focused on tech, and that is what I can probably dive into more. But when we look at other sectors, you can see, first of all, that the stock exchange in Israel is doing amazing.
Right.
The shekel is quite strong.
Right.
Other sectors like construction and housing have been affected. You do see that, but it's compensated.
And that's because of lack of workers or other logistical problems.
Lack of workers has definitely affected the rate and pace of building, and investments in real estate have gone down.
Interesting. So it's a good time to buy, huh?
It's a good time, yeah. If anyone wants to buy a second home in Israel, now's the time.
Yeah, you could say that again. By the way, how does it work, Yariv? I don't know, young soldier in the Israeli army who now has, certain experiences and says, I could do this better. I could invent something to help the army or help society or help medical sector, whatever it is. What's their first step? Like, where do you go with that idea? How do you become part of, Startup Nation Central in terms of trying to direct your efforts the right way if you do have a really good idea and you think you can get the funding for it?
Yeah. So one of the things that I think is very important to understand about Israel is we have a very developed ecosystem. It's not just the technology companies. There are other organizations like the Innovation Authority in Israel, different acceleration programs, incubators, a lot of active investors that are very important, and of course also the multinational corporations that are in Israel. So.
Right.
By the way, just to give you a bit of an explanation about what we do, I started Nation Central, so I said we have our Finder platform, but also we work globally. We help the ecosystem here, or rather we help the world connect with the ecosystem. We work with multinationals, with investors, with governments to help them find the right opportunities. If you're an entrepreneur that has an idea, there is the Innovation Authority that would provide you with funding. There are acceleration programs. We help them also connect with the right people. There are investors in Israel at every stage, from early stage investments to later stage that can provide you funding. The ecosystem, as I said, is very, very developed. And I can give you an example. I just came this morning from a demo day that the Israel aerospace industry is doing an accelerator for defense-related solutions, and half of the presenters are people that came and they started their pitch. They said, I've been serving in military reserve for the past 2 years. I did over 400 days. I saw a need, something that needs to be addressed. I had this idea. And then they give you a pitch about the technology that they're developing to solve a challenge that the military has. And IAI, as well as aerospace industry, is supporting them.
How many presentations do you see on a day like today?
Today in this program, there were 7.
Interesting.
But On any given day around Tel Aviv and even outside, there are many such events.
Do major companies around the world ever consult with you about, their desire to be in Israel? I mean, Amazon's a terrible example because they could do whatever they want on their own. But I was told by somebody that if you name a major company that, especially the ones based in the U.S., they likely have offices in Israel. Do you ever, are you ever involved or ever, a consultant when a company that's somewhere else around the world wants to expand into Israel?
That is our day job, bread and butter. As I'm speaking with you now in the conference room in front of me, there's the largest energy company in Germany that has a presence in Israel, but their head of innovation that actually sits in London is visiting Israel, and he wanted to meet with startups, and we set up a full day for him to meet with energy-related companies.
Do they have a presence? Do they have a presence in the U.S.?
No, it's a European company. But so what I wanted to say, there are over or close to 450 multinational corporations that have innovation activity in Israel. There is no other place in the world where you have so many foreign companies that have innovation activity in one place. And we don't count sales and marketing, call centers, back office, innovation activity from what we call a technology scout, or a person that's looking for innovation through an investment arm or a full-fledged R&D center like Amazon has in Israel or Apple or Google. They have activity here, and they work with us to find innovation, and there are many more that come from abroad and don't have access in Israel, and when they want to navigate the ecosystem and find the opportunities, we help them do that.
I mean, do these heads of government in Europe, for instance, you just said Germany, do they understand the importance of Israel, for their own companies and their own efforts? For that alone, they should be supporting Israel and trying their hardest to, keep Israel strong. Sometimes they come out with statements that seem that they're anti-Israel.
I think there is a disconnect between the economic, the understanding that they have of their economic interests and what they do, and the political sphere, and there's a tension there. But we host here ministers of economy and innovation in our building, and they want to come and understand. First of all, they want to learn about the Israeli story and experience, and some of them want to emulate it. And they understand the benefits of engaging with Israel and with the innovation activity here, and how that could help them grow and develop their economy as well.
You have any clue how many Amazon employees are in Israel? I'm just curious. Like, do you have a guess even? Like, how many people in Israel Amazon employs?
Not off the top of my head, but I would say around probably 1,000 or even more.
Oh, so it's not 10, 20,000. It's somewhere in the thousands.
Yeah, well, Israel is 10 million people.
No, this is not a complaint. I'm just curious. I'm trying to get a perspective, that's all. By the way, for those of you who want to know about Yariv's comment about the shekel, $1 is now $3.17. And boy, for those of us who remember numbers way higher than, I don't remember it lower than this, $3.17, frankly. I mean, I don't follow this every day, but that's pretty strong, right?
Well, I remember when it was lower, but that was 35 years ago.
Right. No, I get that.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how strong it is.
Let me give you just one other anecdote, since I think it's very interesting when we're talking about these global companies. So, today, NVIDIA is probably one of the most important companies, and one of the most, probably the most important technology revolution, and most impactful, right? The AI.
Big presence in Israel?
NVIDIA, about 15% of their workforce is employed in Israel.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
15%.
And is that in Tel Aviv? Are there headquarters in Tel Aviv?
So they have also, basically it's an acquisition that they did a few years ago, which is based in Yokneam, up north, close to Haifa.
Wow.
And they just came out with an announcement that they are going to double the number of their employees in Israel, and they're going to open a big R&D campus up north as well. So
unbelievable. The whole thing is unbelievable. Look, I don't know how spiritual a person you are, but it's hard for me to hear all this news and not think of the incredible hashgacha, if you will, of the one above to oversee a state of Israel that is now so strong the way you've described it this morning.
I agree with you. I think that Hashgacha also requires people to take action and to fulfill the opportunity that God provides.
Yeah, 100%. Pretty amazing conversation, Yariv. I appreciate it. Yariv Becher, Vice President, Startup Nation Central. Toda rabah, Dashcham. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much, Nachum.
More coming up. You're listening to what is today? Wednesday morning edition of JM in the AM.